I don't have to count down. We're live. It is the Beck Scrum, and we have Sam, and we have Michael, and we have Lara. And what am I saying? So I have had a crazy. Gosh, what an exciting! We're calling it the marketing show now. We had our live streamed marketing show, weekly episodes on Monday and Tuesday. You know, come and find out all the marketing excitement stuff. It was so exciting. It was so gripping. I almost forgot that I had a physio appointment to get to, and nearly missed that. So that's anyway. It's all sorted out. I injected some lunch into my neck at one point. Goodness, yeah, interesting marketing meeting, finding out a lot about our AdWords campaign, planning going forward. Main things out of that is, Marufa's going to be focusing on the newsletter, hoping to get info about how our anonymous US donor is sponsoring a Kenyan student who's now put a great pull request into level support to be merged in. So I'm hoping to turn that into a success story. I'm feeling quite positive about it. Other things that have been happening. I'm doing website on DevOps and wending Michael's new button call to action to sign up on the way to production. Hopefully it'll get there pretty soon. Yes, I don't think any other people will remind me if there are other conclusions from the marketing meeting. We basically worked through the Trello board. Yes. Anything else? Yeah, things will come. I've got a meeting with Dree coming up in a moment. We've got our Agile Book Club. Everybody welcome to join, which is going to be like when we're recording us talking about the book. It's called 50 Quick Tips to Improve Your Quick Ideas to Improve Your User Stories by Gojko Adzik and David Evans. That's coming up in 1 hour and 11 minutes. And we'll kind of record chatting through the first part of it and see how that goes. And that'll become, a world famous podcast, maybe. Possibly. We'll see. Who knows what could happen. Yeah, I think that's my update. I mean, I'm busy filling up my calendar. I've got like a phone call tomorrow morning with the AWS people to find out about getting their nonprofits. AWS, Microsoft Azure apparently also offering like thousands of stuff. Yeah, I think that's the key things. I should stop talking and say to Lara, how are things going with you?
Okay, all right. So from my side, just jumped into the marketing meeting and the end there. Discussed the AdWords, and now I'm busy with coveralls, setting up coveralls for Visualiser. I'm also excited to see a new member by the name of Robin that's joined Visualiser. He's also from Kenya, and he's going to be joining the Craft Academy bootcamp now.
Oh wow! Is it online or in Kenya or?
No, online.
Okay, but will he be?
So the South Africa. Well, he'll be part of the South African cohort, but do it remotely.
Right. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So he's a self-taught Ruby on Rails.
Wonderful.
So he's already had his one pull request in, which was great. It was just an update on some spelling, and yeah, so I'm going to try to get him to get more involved.
Awesome.
And that's it from me. No blockers.
Excellent, and also you are offering help and support for doing content marketing for us for Agile Ventures, which is very, very, very much appreciated. Fantastic. Excellent. Thank you, Lara. Going on to Michael, how are things going with you?
Good. So I'm not really have anything to report.
But that's okay. Go on.
Gonna reread the first 3 stories out of the 50 user stories. So.
Yes, indeed. Yes. So the first 3 stories being tell stories, don't write them, divide responsibility for defining stories, and don't worry too much about story format are the first 3 stories. Yes, indeed. So just an hour and 9 minutes now. Cool.
Is there a Slack channel for this book?
There is a Slack channel called Agile Book Club.
Okay, great.
In which, when we're just totally getting started for this, we will see who. In fact, also the book itself, the first 3 chapters are available in a free PDF sample, which I can. It's up further up there. If you scroll up on the channel, you'll find it. You're clever with Slack. I don't repost that. What are you doing? Unlike the people who are new members who are like, are there any Rails projects? When it's like the previous line I've said, by the way, there are these. Okay. Yes. So the idea is, I mean, there's the existing, obviously, the Ruby Book Club, which of course you know. I thought this might be a nice lightweight way to get into the like getting more into the agile side. I mean, there's so much. It feels like there's so much resources for doing coding, and that's great. But it seems to me that all the tips and tricks and little licks that you can do with bits of code are kind of, well, that's all great. But if you can't connect it to actually, these user stories, then it's all kind of, it's a bit of it. Well, I mean, it's performance coding art, really, isn't it? But there we go. So hopefully an opportunity for us to get more into that side. I have this that I was talking to Matt about. So the other things going on today was talking to Matt about the event manager and Aresh, who joined the Scrum, which is great. I mean, I think Aresh has made real progress cutting the Gordian knot with the Slack bot, in that with the Slack integration of the kind that he's used, it kind of gets around the UI issue of someone trying to, if we were supporting multiple votes in parallel there on different stories in different channels, if you DM our current bot, you'd have to tell it which thing you were voting on, which is obviously very inconvenient. Whereas, have you guys all seen his sort of prototype in the Agile Voter Bot test channel?
No.
Let me just show that to you. So it's currently on Heroku, but so he's got this thing here, and it posts and it creates like a little, interface where you can actually just click on the button.
That's cool.
Yeah. Which is great. So very excited about that. Need to get it. Oh yeah, need to move on. Then there's the event manager which now Matt is kind of interested in, and also Marion over the weekend. I was talking with Marion about that. We have all these diagrams I was doing of how we might be splitting ultimately the Rails monolith that we have for website 1 into separate API services, and how that might talk to a middleman site, and all different sorts of possibilities. And sort of Matt's sort of throwing himself into with fantastic enthusiasm and relish into Event Manager. There's sort of a question about now also Aresh, man of many talents. Aresh has shown us how got all of the WebSockets all set up and working, so that's all good there. There's in terms of working on tickets, it's like what's the high level plan? So, and it's I notice a tendency on some people's part is that they're very happy to kind of like bash away at tickets without necessarily connecting them to high level stories. Maybe I'm being, what's the word? Not diplomatic. A hypocrite there, because maybe sometimes I throw in like little short stories or whatever and just get them fixed. But I feel like the thing that distinguishes, or supposed to distinguish, Agile Ventures open source projects from just arbitrary open source projects, is that we are trying to connect the work that's being done to high level stories. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully old Agile Book Club might help with that. We will see. Okay. Well, I think that's our Scrum. Unless there's anything else that we need to coordinate, I guess we could just check to see. Yes, staging now has our sign up now to start coding, which takes us there. So that looks all right. And a little quick sanity check that we haven't accidentally broken 8 other things. I can get that on the way to production. I've also now actually, because I've merged back down the chain all the stuff, I can now do this, I think. So this is my, so if I go git pull origin master, I just check that I've got all the latest master, and then I can do git rebase staging, like so, and then I can do git push origin master, and then that's me deploying our production side. It's something if we could have like a continuous delivery system that would just like sort of do that automatically. Go on.
So it'll try to pull it off website 1, right?
It will try to pull it off website 1. I'm not sure what we mean. What do we mean?
Heroku have a pull, like it has a trigger in it, right?
Yeah. So what I mean, so as before, anytime we deploy something to master, we're on semaphore. Once the semaphore build completes, it will then trigger a deployment to Heroku.
Yeah.
So I guess, do we have continuous delivery but not deployment, or we have continuous deployment but not delivery? Like I wonder if there was some mechanism that we could have where the items, like at the moment, what happens is we have a number of pull requests that are ready to features. I or someone will merge them into develop, and they will go to the develop server. I will then sort of like do a manual double check with them on the develop server, and assuming that they work, which I did this morning, I then rebase them into staging and push to the staging server, and then I can check them manually on the staging server, and then rinse and repeat what I just did here for that.
I mean,
go on.
To do like real continuous delivery, you basically need to not be relying so much on branches.
Right.
Feature branches kind of are branches are short-lived, like extremely short-lived.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you and I were to pair on something, we would try to always be in a state where it could be merged back in to develop. Even if that required putting flags around things.
Right.
And you'll see this.
But we'd still be, you're saying we'd still be doing that in a feature branch. We'd just be like But
you'd be constantly like so many times a day re-merging what you did in a feature branch.
Right.
Back into develop.
Like automatically.
So that it was always like ready to go.
Right. So that you basically couldn't be like sitting on a little bit of a feature that was in a kind of intermediate state. It would be constantly being. I mean, that's one thing. Like
they do that like on websites.
Sure. Yeah. No. I'm aware of that. I'm talking about this process of moving it from develop to staging to master, and could that be automated?
I mean, I'm not aware of anyone. I don't know whether. I mean, people say like continuous delivery means like you could deliver it like any time, but like obviously, I think people actually have like some kind of human intervention there, don't they?
I don't know. That's what I wonder there.
There's usually some stakeholder that says, "Okay, let's go out." It's
There's delivery versus this is trying to ensure it can be reliably released at any time. But the implication of your code being continuously merged back into develop is that I would have thought that the develop is then it's going out into production with no human intervention, right?
No, it doesn't. There's always approval, right?
Well, they've got in which they've got in this diagram.
There's always
I don't know. The way I've heard it described in some situations, it sounds like there's no approval process. It's basically that it goes out, and so you're under pressure that anything that you're putting in what mustn't break production, and basically within 48 hours it'll be in production, and so you're basically being very careful as a result.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone really does that.
Maybe not. But I wonder if this idea of this continuous deployment is something that I'm just making up in my head or really exists. Someone there saying, what's the difference there? Puppet seems to have an opinion on this. So there's someone saying there, continuous delivery doesn't mean every change is deployed to production APC. It means every change is proven to be deployable at any time. Fair enough. Okay. So there's somebody else saying that continuous deployment is something else. Right. There you go. So so it's not my imagination. Continuous deployment is the next step of continuous delivery. Every change that passes the automated is deployed to production automatically. Continuous deployment should be the goal of most companies that are not constrained by regulatory or other requirements. So yes, as you're describing, in the continuous delivery, there's a manual step, whereas there's not in continuous deployment.
So it says, while continuous deployment may not be right for every company, continuous delivery is an absolute requirement of DevOps.
Indeed, but it's interesting. I mean, the continuous delivery basically would mean that anything that's kind of on a feature branch in the repo is like every day is swept up and pulled, is merged automatically into develop.
Correct.
And
like
then,
from what I understand,
yep,
continuous delivery means basically you can show like that button that we did.
yeah,
Like you could show that to a stakeholder, and that like executive or whatever could say, "Get that out right now," and there would be no reason why you couldn't. Like we wouldn't be blocked like we were with like all the other things had to be. If that makes sense, like everything. In other words, when you go to a stakeholder and you show them something,
yeah, sure,
they can say, "Put it out now," and it can be done. That's kind of like the key thing of what continuous.
Yeah, right. I mean, like
is.
I mean, we weren't particularly blocked. I mean, the interesting thing is here in the continuous delivery means it's basically already it's continuously being merged into develop, so it's always there. But for the point at which somebody says, "Okay, yeah, we've got it. It's working in develop. We're showing it in develop. It's great," then you get the approval of it, and then it gets deployed to production, but not until that point.
Yes.
But it's interesting. It seems to me like we've got deliver to staging. I mean, it's that sweeping up from all of the feature branches seems pretty radical. You know, like it seems like to me you could be doing continuous deployment, like I'm saying, like everything that gets once it gets merged into to develop, right? It's on a conveyor belt that it will go into production, and that I'm. Yeah, I guess the everything on a feature branch always being merged back in. No, I mean it sounds like it could be pretty cool because then everybody's kind of under fire to make sure that if they've got a feature branch, they're leaving it in a state where it's not going to screw things up.
Right.
And then they can't basically, for the danger is for like a long-lived branch in along the feature branch that it starts to get further, you're avoiding that merge pain. Like as other people's stuff is coming through, and you're holding on to your little isolated world in the feature branch.
Yeah.
And then like, oh well, how did all this work? But you made that change, and I can't fix it. It's kind of avoiding that situation.
Correct.
Whereas what
Not
this
sure to what degree it's truly applicable to us.
Well,
because everybody's kind of a volunteer, so.
Yeah, I mean, I was less worried about that because I feel like we can't. Yeah, it's like people are already under like they're kind of managing these new things. It's a different thing if they're being paid. I was more interested in this process where I mean I end up seeing a backlog of I merged like several features in to develop, and then I mean partly why I wanted to get this thing sorted out so I can rebate. Hopefully, going forward from now, we won't have these crazy. Like merge everywhere. I'll be able to see basically the last 3 commits on staging will show me what are the 3 things that are now going out onto production, right?
Yeah, but like, why do you want it to just automatically go out?
Well, it's more because there's like 5 or 6 of them build up, and I kind of forget what they are. I mean, I guess the first step is, I mean, if they were automatically going out, then it would kind of like I wouldn't have to remember to do it, and the fact that it was happening automatic, if each day, like if on a given, if there was like a 3-day cycle or what have you, and stuff that I put into develop was automatically moved on to staging after 3 days and automatically moved on to production after 3 days, I mean, I would be kind of like make it. It wouldn't through my lack of DevOps activity that we would end up with like 7 or 8 or 20 different things on develop that are yet to get into staging. You know what I mean?
Right, but the actual. So you want it to move from develop on to staging, you're saying?
Yeah, I'm just imagining a hypothetical situation where, if I'd move something onto develop, where that starts a clock that says, okay, this is going to be moved from develop onto staging in 48 hours. So, and it'll alert me and it'll say like, please check that, it works on develop, I don't know, maybe that's too draconian on myself. Anyway, it was certainly interesting to find.
I think it would be possible for us to do.
Yeah. Go on, Laura.
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, sorry. I thought I heard you interjecting. But yeah. Anyway, interesting to see the these two terms that I'd almost been imagining are actually real terms. So it's not all my dream. There is something to it. Anyway, that's cool. All right. Well, I've got the dream meeting coming up. So I will catch one or both of you at the Agile Book Club in about 53 minutes.
Right.
All right. Bye for now.